You ready?
Ready.
Awesome. And thank you for joining us to this Go Virtual Conference session. This is the magic and wonder of science and CTE, making connections between the classroom and career, hands-on, minds-on activities for students. Today's presenter is Darcy Kimball. She is a biotechnology, medical, and AP Med Bio teacher. Darcy, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. Hi, everyone. In this virtual world, it's really strange that I'm not able to see everyone's face. It looks like, I feel like I'm actually teaching to a computer screen, but that's okay. Hopefully you'll get something out of our session today, which is kind of the magic of science and how it relates to our human body a little bit.
And really quick, if our audience, if anybody out there has any questions, feel free to use the Q&A section of this presentation, and we'll go through these questions as they come up.
All right. I think the chat is disabled and we have the question and answer open.
Yeah.
But what I'd like to know from you is, what school are you attending and what career are you interested in? So while you are putting that in the Q&A, I'm going to go ahead and share a medical parody with you.
Look at this stuff, isn't it cool? What I would give just to be in med school. Wouldn't they think I'm the one? Resume has everything. Did my MCAT, volunteer too. 395 GPA and research labs too. Applied to 10 schools, you would think. Sure, she's tried everything. I've done fundraising, soup kitchens, charities. I've done 4 medical missions abroad. You want references? I've got 20. But who cares? No big deal. They want more. Science degree won't get me too far. Honors degree, will it make me look special? All I've got to do is that, what is it called again? Oh, NMI. Entry fee, I'll pay anything. Study on a Friday and pull all-nighters. Dreaming of the day when I get my own stethoscope. Up where they post, sparkling my coat. Up where they think that learning is fun. A beautiful proof. What would I do to be in med school? Check your email and just keep it. Oh no. I got it!
I'm going to go ahead and stop right there. So I know a lot of you are super young. At this point, you may not know what career that you're interested in. So even though you may not be interested in healthcare or any type of healthcare profession, you might be inspired by what we're going to be doing today. So hopefully by keeping this a little bit interactive and putting you in an authentic situation, you'll be able to share in some of the goals of being a healthcare professional. So if you are on a computer, you're going to have easy access to this. If you aren't and you're on a phone instead, it might be a little bit more difficult. But the presentation link to help you interact with me and to go along with what I'm doing is at the top of this page. We can also, can we drop that in the Q&A? I'm more familiar with the chat in the Q&A, but.
Yes, we can send out in the chat.
That would be
if you
awesome.
want to highlight it and put it in the chat, we can do that.
Perfect. That just makes it easy. Then while you're accessing that link for the presentation, if you could also access the Jamboard link, that would be fantastic as well. That'll help me interact with you. By the time the session is over, I'm hoping to inspire your current mindset. So whether you want to be a healthcare professional or whether you don't, hopefully it'll inspire you to start thinking about your goals and where you might want to end up after high school. You'll be able to play the role of a healthcare professional. And hopefully by the time you leave, you'll be able to generate new questions and goals. You know, what are you going to do as you move forward? How are you going to get motivated? How are you going to just set a new mindset and habits in mind so that you can progress forward and do great things and be successful?
Great. Both are in the chat, and both, if you click on it, it'll hyperlink you to the Jamboard in the presentation.
Perfect. Thank you. So on the Jamboard, we are going to be answering 3 questions to start out with, and then a 4th question at the end. So if you weren't able to get the previous Jamboard link, here's another one. This is the long, obnoxious one, but this one also works as well. If you've never used Jamboard before, it's really cool. It's kind of like a bulletin board. So on the left-hand side, you have different tools that you can use. For example, a pen if you want to write or draw, an eraser if you don't like what you wrote or drew and you want to erase it. You have sticky notes, which you just click on that and it brings up this window and you can type whatever you want in there and it will save that for you onto the bulletin board. You can also insert images if you'd like, if that is going to represent your answer. Text boxes are fine too. Or if you want to play with the laser pointer, that's available as well. So the first question on the Jamboard is, do all healthcare professionals have high GPAs in high school? Yes or no? I like that. I think their college grades are more important. Definitely very important. Once you've answered that question, there is a second question you can answer. Do all healthcare professionals major in science? Nice, I like these answers. Somebody knows their stuff. I like that. As you move forward into your college applications and thinking about what college you might want to go into, would you like to go to a community college or to a 4-year university? It doesn't matter if you want to go into a healthcare profession. I like it. You guys are on it. That's great. So definitely going through these questions, do all healthcare professionals have to have high GPAs in high school? A lot of physicians that you might meet would say, no, you don't actually have to have a high GPA in high school. And definitely college grades are very important when it comes to applying to med school and moving on into like a nursing program. If you transfer, if you apply to a nursing program, especially if you are thinking about going to SDSU, or if you want to go to community college and transfer into a program, definitely GPAs are important when you go through your college classes. But at the high school level, I think there's a little bit of grace when it comes to what your GPAs are. You'll probably meet some physicians that'll tell you, hey, when I was in high school, I didn't make the best grades and I still went to med school, so you can do it too. So if you're in a position where your GPA is not quite as high as you would like it to be, there's still an opportunity. You can still fulfill your dreams in order to become a doctor or a healthcare professional. For the second question, do all healthcare professionals major in science? And you are correct if you said no. In fact, what some people do advise is that if you think about it, the typical major that a lot of students would like to go into are like pre-med, human biology, biology degrees, chemistry. All of those are ones that it just really makes sense because it fits a lot with what you might want to do in the healthcare profession. But if you think about it, once you go through your undergrad and you get your bachelor's degree and you start applying for med schools after you've taken your MCAT, if you think about the applications that they would get, how many applications would they get that are from biology majors, pre-med, human biology? Probably about this many applications, right? As compared to maybe fewer chemistry, biochemistry majors. How many math majors do you think would apply to med school? Probably about this many. How about if you majored in English or if you majored in music? How many of those applications do you think they would get into med school? Probably very few. So if you want to apply to med school, one thing to actually think about is how can you get in the credits that you need, all the prerequisites that you need in order to be successful on the MCAT and getting into med school or getting into a nursing program or getting into any healthcare program that you want to get into, while also fulfilling the units for your major. As long as you fulfill all of your prerequisites for everything that you want to do, then you can still apply for med school as long as you have those credits behind you. As far as whether you should apply for a community college or for a four-year college, does it really matter? In a lot of cases, no, right? Because community colleges, they have a lot of great tech programs. Some people decide that they want to get their CNA, their CMA, LVN before they apply to nursing school. And that does give you extra points when you go for trying to get admitted into a nursing program. If you want to get an associate's of nursing, you can go to Southwestern Community College in our area. There are other community colleges that have similar programs. If you want to get a head start, get personalized education, if you want smaller class sizes, if financially it's better for you to go to a community college and you transfer to a four-year, what happens when you get that transcript from your four-year university when you get your bachelor's? Does it say anywhere on your transcript that you went to a community college first? No, it doesn't. So there are advantages to going to a community college. There are also advantages of going to a four-year university right out of high school as well. And those advantages might be establishing culture, establishing your roots in a college where you have a strong support system right from your freshman year. Maybe if they have research programs at that four-year university that aren't available at a community college, you would have access to those particular programs. So definitely a lot of advantages to either going to a community college or four-year. It really depends on you and what your journey will hold for you. I'm going to go back to our original presentation.
I have a question. You know, just thinking about the pandemic right now, what are a lot of students that have been offered into a four-year, but they're 4 years doing virtual? Have most deferred for that year and done community college, or what's your advice with that, or what you've seen?
As far as my own students are concerned, they have continued to attend classes in the university where they have been admitted. So even though they've been online, if they were admitted into a four-year university, they stayed with the four-year university and decided not to go to community college instead. There wasn't a change of mind. They didn't have a change of plan. So that definitely is something that they have stayed on track with. Maybe it's a comfort level thing, knowing that they do have a path paved for them now, and they just decide to stay on that path rather than changing their plan essentially almost at the last minute. So I think it's a comfort level thing, and that's what they decided to do, and they stuck with it. I haven't heard back yet how it's going for them, because UC's just started back up. San Diego State started up in August, and they've been really busy, so they haven't checked back in with me to let me know how it's been for their online classes at the college level. But I'm hoping that everything's okay for them, because online it can be a little bit harder. It can be a little bit more difficult, that's for sure. As we all are experiencing right now with online remote learning. I'm assuming that many of you who are on this session are also remote learning right now. So hopefully it's going okay for you. All right, here's another video I wanted to share with you about patient diagnostics and the importance of really kind of processing how you would diagnose a patient.
I got the feeling inside my bones. Are you shaking, aching? What's that in your nose? Went to the doctor, they said go home. I came to Harvard to find experts who would know. I bet she's got something exotic. I just occasionally carry that's okay, it's just a fever and the snot. Ooh, she can't seem to stop the coughing. Should we remove her spleen? Nature doctor, we can wrap this thing stop. Am I tonight? We will diagnose. Students saying lies, all the headlines will post. You're just first years, what could you know? So just examine. Just examine. Yours in type 2, do you 10? I've got a drink to use on you, big hands. This all must be hard for you, understand, stand. Oh, am I scoping hurt too soon? Keep dancing. Put it in for your chest. Kiss out the dance. Stretch out the man. Something more simple. X-ray her teeth, sample her blood, and check her bones. We'll find the reason her nose are slow. I hope it's rare enough to publish our case notes. We got our own case study. Feel like house empty. Series changing every minute. Can we stop? We just want an on the MCAT. That's not what the numbers be. Take a minute, think it over, then we'll talk. Under the line, GFP close. MVP is what a story should show. Maybe it's time to go back where you know. Just examine. What do you for sure? I'll get a sample of your soul and this hand. Go and then angiogram. What do you make this check or do a G-plan? my body. Taking care of everybody. I start feeling in my body. Just can't wait to help somebody. 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 Come on.
Love it. Right. So in diagnosing a patient, it's really important to understand the body, obviously, because sometimes diagnosing a patient can be really super tricky. So whether it's a diagnosis or a symptom that you can see, just like this, the process of mixing acids with bases. I'm so glad I have this tub here to catch everything, which you have seen over and over again, probably since you've been in elementary school. So it could be the concept of acids versus bases. It could be something more on the cell level. And this is something that you can do at home. Obviously, this was just vinegar and this was baking soda that you can do at home. This is just water. And what I'm going to add to this water is just regular old vegetable oil. In fact, this is generic brand.
Darcy, can you hold it kind of close in front of you? Otherwise it goes in the background.
Oh, absolutely. All right, so I'm just adding vegetable oil here. This is gonna be interesting. Anybody know what I'm doing? Now I'm gonna add food coloring. I'm gonna turn my hand even so you can see. You have to add quite a bit of food coloring. That's okay, I have enough. I can even make it purple if I want to.
It's like a lava lamp.
Mm-hmm. All right, so this is pretty easy. Just a plastic cup, water in the bottom, vegetable oil. These might be things that you have at your house right now. Maybe not the food coloring per se, but you might have something that you can use. But this is the fun part. This is the trick. The fun part is adding what some people add when they have a stomachache, which is Alka-Seltzer. So whether you're in chemistry class or another class, you probably have seen this stuff and love to play around with it. Whether it's the film canister rockets or something else. If you just take an Alka-Seltzer tablet and just drop it in, you're losing me in the background, aren't you? Trying to find that sweet spot here.
Pull it closer around. Yeah, like that. Perfect.
There we go. Okay. Hopefully you can still see it really well. Drop it in the bottom. And you've made yourself a little lava lamp. But the cool thing about this is what happens on the cell level. These are things that you can't see, but are super, super cool. And this is something that you could put together easily at home. And I could stare at this forever. Oh my gosh. But if you think about what this is made of, with the water environment in the bottom and the lipid environment at the top, this is the whole concept of hydrophobic, hydrophilic, right? You probably learned about cell membrane since you were in middle school. This is the whole concept behind cell membrane. If you want to keep that lava lamp going, you just put another Alka-Seltzer tablet in there. And I just happen to have two. It's always fun.
That's fun. I feel like I see Alka-Seltzer less than I used to.
It's a shame, isn't it?
Yeah.
I could watch this all day. It's just so mesmerizing. It's what takes the stress out of your day too. So if you have that really difficult exam and you just need to decompress, just get yourself some water, a little bit of vegetable oil, some food coloring and Alka-Seltzer, and there you go. There's your stress relief. So how do we use those concepts that we learned in science since you were in middle school and elementary, now that you're in high school? How do you use that information and your common sense, your kind of your problem-solving skills in order to diagnose patients. So this is the part where if you have access to the PowerPoint, you can do some interaction and diagnose this patient along with me. This is the first patient that we're going to see. We're going to see a total of 5 of them. So that first patient has a chief complaint of being a 9-year-old male complaining of headaches and severe abdominal pain. The mother of the patient stated that the patient has vomited several times in the last 24 hours. Well, this is pretty common. The patient attended a birthday party the day before symptoms started. Another boy at the birthday party went home early because he was feeling sick. So the patient's signs and symptoms include nausea, vomiting, headaches, abdominal pain. During physical examination, taking the vital signs, all the vital signs were normal. There was no fever detected. The patient was 3'11", weighing 79 pounds. The patient keeps saying that she is thirsty, and the pain level is at 8 on a scale of 1 to 10. Medical history, the patient has had 3 similar episodes in the last 2 months. And family medical history, grandma died from breast cancer at the age of 42, and father has type 1 diabetes. So it's really important to kind of figure out what of this information is important in diagnosing the current symptoms and what is not so important or not related to the current situation. So I'm going to be able to give you the patient 1 diagnostic test and positive diagnosis. I'll be flipping back and forth for you. I will also give you the lab results of that patient so it can help you figure out what's going on with this patient. This is the slide that you need in order to be interactive. So if you could go ahead and fill out your observations of what are patient's 1 signs and symptoms, and then what additional observations are important to consider for diagnosis. And what I'm going to do for these 2 is I'm going to go backwards, and I'm going to show you my screen so that as you have this open on your screen, you can go ahead and type those things in if you have the link available and open. If you have not accessed the link yet, it should be in the chat for you. So it'll open right up. So in order to answer the first 2 questions, here's the information that you need. What were the signs and symptoms of your patient? And what other observations are you making that relate to those signs and symptoms that probably are important in diagnosing your patient today? Give you some time to do that. All right, if you have a last name that starts with A through M, then what is 1 sign and symptom that this patient has that you think is really relevant, an observation that you think is really relevant in diagnosing this patient? Go ahead and drop that in the chat. Anyone can volunteer. Nice. Those are all the 4 symptoms: nausea, vomiting, headaches, and abdominal pain. And then other observations that you make that you think might be related? All right. So the next thing that we get to fill in is the test results. So what are the test results for glucose, electrolytes, blood pH, and infection? So as you read these diagnostic test results, if you see a strip and it has no color change at the end, then that means it's a negative result. That means that that's a healthy test result. However, if there's a little square at the end and it has a color change, then you can see that the color change has an indication as to whether or not that diagnostic test result is very low, low, healthy, high, or very high. So in the case of the electrolytes, you can see how there's a color change at the end of the strip, and that color changes to white. What does it mean to have a white color change? It means it's very low. What disease or disorder does your patient have based on the facts? So glucose was negative, electrolytes were very low, blood pH was negative, and infection was negative. So based on those diagnostic test results, what do you think is going on with your patient? So if you take a look at this chart and you compare the color changes versus the non-color changes, what is the final diagnosis? If you thought it was influenza, you are right. Nice job. Patient number 2. The chief complaint for patient number 2 is that it is a 14-year-old male complaining of fatigue, body aches, headaches, and has experienced periods of sweating the past few nights. The patient also has severe skin rash on his right arm. The patient believes he may have been hit by an insect, which caused the rash. The patient has just returned from a trip visiting family in Michigan. Signs and symptoms: fever, fatigue, night sweats, body aches, headaches, and skin rash. For the physical examination, the vital signs show that his temperature was 104 degrees Fahrenheit, super high. Skin rash and slightly pale. He is 5'11" and 140 pounds. His pain level is 5 out of a scale of 1 to 10. The patient was born with a heart condition that was treated when he was 2 years old, and family medical history not related to the current condition. So if you go to your patient diagnostic sheet, what are the patient's signs and symptoms? And what additional observations are important to consider for diagnosis? I'll go ahead and show you my screen. And you can include the signs and symptoms for patient 2, as well as any additional observations that you are making about the patient that may relate to his diagnosis. Give you some time to fill that in. Nice. And what observations are there that might relate to the symptoms that this student or this male is experiencing? Very good. That definitely is key. So let's look at the test results. So the test results include glucose, light pink, electrolytes, no change, blood pH is red or dark pink, and infection is pink. So if we take a look at our diagnostic test results and what they mean, we have pink, no change, red, and pink. So based on this chart of possible diagnoses, what should we diagnose our patient with?
Was the infection, I can't remember, was that pink or?
Yeah, so the diagnostic tests were pink, no change, red, and pink. Here's the diagnostic test results. Very good. If you put Lyme disease, that is correct. Patient number 3. Patient number 3 looks miserable. This patient is 6 years old, male, complaining of fatigue, weakness, a sore throat, cough, and a headache. The patient has a skin rash covering his entire body. Parents claim patient has been extremely irritable. The rash appears suddenly overnight. The patient has lost weight over the last week. The parents claim the daughter of a friend was just diagnosed with mercury poisoning. The signs and symptoms include fatigue, skin rash, weakness, sore throat, cough, headache, and fever. As far as the vital signs, her temperature or his temperature was 102.2, so pretty high. Skin rash. She's 3 foot 1 inch, 65 pounds. Pain is 6 on a pain scale level of 10. There's no medical history related to this current condition. And a cousin was just diagnosed with leukemia. So if we were to write down the signs and symptoms of this particular patient and any other observations that are important to consider, what would we include? And what kinds of observations would pertain to this particular diagnosis? Weight loss for sure. Rash, definitely. Maybe mercury poisoning would be a consideration. Maybe not because it's the daughter of a friend, but who knows? Maybe they were in the same environment and they were exposed to the same setting. So here are the diagnostic test results. For glucose, there's no change. Electrolytes, no change. Blood pH, ooh, it's a little bit low. And it's really important to keep your blood pH at a 7.4 level. Anything a little bit above that or below that actually will make you really, really sick. And infection, infection was light pink. So what does that mean when you have no change for glucose, no change for electrolytes, blood pH is low, and infection is positive? no change, no change, green or yellow, and pink. So what's our diagnosis? Is it mercury poisoning? Is it leukemia, like what's in the family history? No, it's measles. So if you answered measles, you are absolutely correct. 2 more patients to go. And then we have done our duty for the day. Patient 4. This patient is 13 years old. She's a female complaining of severe headaches, vomiting, nausea, and dizziness. She also claims that light hurts her eyes and she has had periods of confusion. The patient is having issues speaking clearly. The guardian claims patient has complained of neck stiffness. Patient's sister has started complaining of similar symptoms. So the signs and symptoms include headache, nausea, vomiting, dizziness, confusion, light sensitivity, and fever. During physical examination, we found the temperature was 103 degrees Fahrenheit, pretty high, rapid pulse rate. She is 5'4" and 115 pounds, and pain on a pain scale level of 10 is 10 out of 10. Patient medical history, she has experienced migraines in the past year, and the father is currently being treated with chemotherapy for brain cancer. So if we go to your patient assessment sheet, what are the patient's signs and symptoms, and what additional observations are important to consider for diagnosis? Perfect. Signs and symptoms are listed: headache, nausea, vomiting, dizziness, confusion, light sensitivity, and fever. And it's important to note for observations that she has had a past history of migraines, family history of brain cancer, which has to do with the cephalic or cranial region. So let's take a look at her diagnostic test results, what her lab results are. For glucose, there's no change. For electrolyte, very high. Blood pH is low. And infection, if it's purple, it is high. So what does that mean? If there's no change, blue, green, and purple, or purplish blue, yeah, our guess might be meningitis, which completely fits. And our last patient for today is an 11-year-old female complaining of a headache, nausea, vomiting, dizziness, and loss of appetite. Parents claim that the patient has also been having some breathing issues. The patient's symptoms started after staying with grandparents. The patient has been pulling on the left ear and crying. So the signs and symptoms include headache, loss of appetite, nausea and vomiting, dizziness, breathing issues, and fever. For the physical exam, we discovered that she has 101-degree temp, increased respiratory rate, increased pulse rate. She's only 4'2", 74 pounds, has pain of 9 on a pain scale of 1 to 10. The patient is allergic to shellfish, bee stings, and peanuts. And family history, her brother and sister have been diagnosed with asthma. So what's wrong with our 11-year-old female? Here are our diagnostic test results. So you can go ahead and record the signs and symptoms, observations, and test results. Let me go back to the original patient information, just in case you didn't have a chance to write those down. And what kind of observations might be pertinent in diagnosing this patient? So observations might be pulling on the left ear and crying. So it indicates that maybe there's pain in her ear. We do protect ear infection. Maybe she's having an allergic reaction. Maybe she's like her brother and sister and has asthma. Let's find out. With the diagnostic test results, glucose is very high. Electrolytes are very low. Blood pH is green or yellow, starting as dark blue, so it's low for pH, and infection is very high. So what does that mean? It's white, white, dark blue that fades to yellow and white. How would we diagnose our patient? You said infection of the ear, you are right. So we're running low on time, so I'm gonna go ahead and skip through the x-rays. I've included the x-rays in your presentation, in this particular presentation, so you can practice looking at x-rays, so you can have a little bit of fun with it. With each of these slides, not only does it have the patient fracture that you can take a look at, but also what a normal x-ray would look like as well. So you can identify what the bone is that's fractured, what type of fracture it is, what the names of those bones are, how that patient broke their bone. Maybe you can think about how you would treat that bone as well, whether you would treat it with hardware like pins, whether you would put a cast on that patient. How would you treat that patient? There are 14 total patients that you can actually look at their x-rays and try to diagnose them and figure out a treatment for them. If you're looking for other resources in order to practice being a healthcare profession, there are lots of them out there that are super fun. Some of them include apps that you can get on your phone, which is called Prognosis Your Diagnosis. Super fun app that allows you to take a look at lab results and symptoms and diagnose your patient. EdHeads is a really good one, as well as a10point.com, which is a neat operation that you can do. Nobelprize.org is a really great educational game website. And the funnest one is the last one in the lower right-hand corner, www.practicalclinicalskills.com, which is where you can actually read EKGs, you can listen to lung sounds and heart sounds, you can actually train yourself how to read blood pressure using a stethoscope, which is really super fun. It's a great website. I highly encourage you to visit it. So your takeaways, hopefully for today, we're not going to visit back to the Jamboard, but hopefully you feel motivated at this point to kind of move forward with just working at your studies, asking questions if you have those questions, making sure that you assert yourself, take advantage of all the opportunities just like you are doing today, and just kind of extend yourself to those opportunities and experiences that will help you along the way. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask those questions right now if you would like to, or you can always contact me or your teacher if you have any questions that you would like answered. And I believe we have a certificate for you that you can take with you to prove that you were here today.
And there are no questions at this time, Darcy. So
Perfect. I'd like to thank everyone for being here today. And I wish you best of luck to the rest of the semester and the school year.
So if you're an attendee, you can take a screenshot of that certificate of attendance if you wish.
I'm gonna stop the